This is Barbell Therapy, the podcast helping women build strength, confidence, and self-trust through fitness and real conversations. I'm your host, Coach Kate. Get comfy and let's get into it. Okay, welcome back to Barbell Therapy. If you want to lose weight, you have to track your food. Okay, now before you spiral and say that's toxic, obsessive, disordered, all the other things that I've heard before, listen to me. Tracking is not the disorder. Your relationship to tracking and food, that's what's disordered. And those are two very different things. So let's be really for real with each other right now. If you were trying to save money, would tracking your spending be a toxic behavior? If you wanted to build a business, would you track your revenue? If you were training for a marathon, would tracking your miles or your runs be toxic? Or would all of those things be necessary? So why, when it comes to fat loss, do we suddenly act like tracking data is an extreme approach? The reality is, to lose fat, you can't just eat healthy. You have to be in a consistent calorie deficit, and you cannot consistently create something that you are not measuring. It's just not possible. Now, you can pre-measure things and not track them consistently because you're following a plan that you know is in a calorie deficit, but you can't create a calorie deficit by not knowing what it is that you're eating or the amounts that you're eating. I talk to so many women in my DMs who tell me that they've tried tracking and it doesn't work, that they're stuck in weight loss, but they eat healthy or they don't eat that much and they don't snack and they have less sweets or whatever. But also, are you being really for real with yourself? Are you thinking about the handfuls here or the bites there, the drinks at happy hour, emotionally eating every Thursday when you're burnt the F out? Now, I'm not saying you're trying to hide or lie, but you're just seeing the zoomed in version and not the whole picture, okay? Studies show that humans underestimate their eating by 20 to 50%. Whatever your narrative is here, if you're not losing weight, you're not in a calorie deficit. But also, a calorie deficit is not just about a calculator. Yes, the calculator online will give you a starting point, but without your dieting history, your chronic stress issues, your lack of sleep or recovery, girl, all of those things affect your metabolism, and your metabolism is what dictates what a calorie deficit is. When the body is in fight or flight mode, it will store calories. So you might be eating in a calorie deficit mathematically for your body size, but if you're dealing with internal issues like inflammation, stress, etc., your body will naturally downregulate your metabolic rate to meet what you're feeding it so it can store those calories to feed the stress. And to be clear, tracking can be disordered. There are times that you might be seeing disordered eating patterns if you attach your worth to the number, restrict to make up for it, you're obsessing over perfection. But tracking itself is neutral. It's just information, it's feedback and awareness. So, in a deeper level of honesty here, we often don't want to track because it forces us to be honest, right? To hold up a mirror to ourselves. Now, you can't have a narrative that makes sense in your head. It's a reality check. And it's honestly one that you might not be ready for right now. Which again is why it's so important to take a mindset first approach before leading into weight loss. We have to confront these issues so that there is room for growth. So now I want you to approach tracking differently in a way that will actually work, okay? Instead of downloading an app and asking how many calories you need to eat in order to lose 1 pound per week, changing your activity level to see a number that you don't cringe at, here's what you're gonna do. Start by gathering data on your food, on your steps, on your movement. You're collecting information like a scientist. Like we had to do back in middle school in science class. I know you're a type A, so you're going to love this, to be honest. Once you see the patterns, you can make strategic changes. You can create consistency and a plan that actually makes sense for your life and where you're at right now. And then you can figure out how to approach the future. Those changes have to match your current capacity. And the only way to be realistic about that is to understand where you're at and make bite-sized changes. So let's talk about that strategy around tracking, right? So one, you are going to track daily, but you're going to look at your averages over the week. Things don't change day to day. They change throughout compounded consistency. Number two, you're never going to restrict to compensate. If you overeat, do not punish yourself later. Just get right back on it as fast as you possibly can. Number three, if tracking is making you anxious, if you're thinking about food all day, if you're obsessing, that's a sign that your calorie deficit is too aggressive. Tracking is meant to create clarity. Number four, take breaks. You're not meant to live in a calorie deficit forever. Maintenance is a skill that needs to be learned and understood. Tracking at maintenance teaches you balance and it refines your foundation, and you honestly need to be there 3 to 4 months before you earn a fat loss phase.
Because not only is it good to reset your mind around all of the things, but establish your foundation so that when you get to a fat loss phase, you're not miserable. At the end of the day, for most of the population, there are some that excluded from this. Tracking is not disordered, and you don't have a problem with tracking. You're struggling with the relationship you have with yourself. Because the second something feels imperfect, you're spiraling. The second you go over, you quit. The second you feel uncomfortable, you call it disordered and say it's not working and you can't do this. Okay, I coach data and capacity and identity to get you to feel confident, not just with how your body looks, but how you connect with yourself internally. If you want to lose weight, you need information, honest, and consistency. You are capable of tracking your food without hating yourself. You are capable of collecting data without attaching shame to it. And you are capable of losing weight without losing your mind. But only if you separate health from worth, separate numbers from identity, separate data from morality. That's the work. And that's why we do this the way we do inside of the Resilience Blueprint, because fat loss isn't the hard part. Consistency to get there is. And consistency requires awareness, honesty, and an open mind to change. And the Resilience Blueprint is built as a week by week intensive that gets you to there without all of the crap from the past. I hope this information was helpful. As always, let me know if you have any questions.